Very well, back to the TC105. As you can see, I've screwed it down with the 4 screws onto a piece of MDF to try and give it some firmness and stop it from lifting. But as I predicted, it's still not sitting flat all round because of the warping. So this will mean that I will have to put the 4 screws in the 4 corners. So we'll come back after I do that. Okay, so now it's screwed down on all 4 corners. So it can't get any more solid than that. I've also put a new blade in it, so we give it every opportunity. I've stuck the handle up, which was starting to come apart. Okay, we'll take some 5x2 walnut. Not very challenging, but a reasonable solid piece of material. Yep, still crunches, still leaves a ragged edge, and it still runs off appreciably, but cuts through okay. I'm just not happy with that edge. The wide material, this is the 25mm wide by about 1.5mm thick. Yep, does that very well. Again, a bit of a feathery edge. They claim it can do up to 30mm, so let's have a little look. This is 30 by 4mm, but it's only MDF, so it's not very hard. And yes, it goes through that, but an extreme amount of runoff. We'll do the 6mm, but in the softer material. It's the 6mm round, softer material. Not too bad. Runoff, of course. Edge not too bad. Okay, now the oak. Let's see what we can do with that. Took a lot of work, and because it crunches through so hard, it's actually flattened the material on top. The 10x2 walnut. These are all sections that we did earlier, but we've also done with the little black one. That's fairly hard. Rough edge. The 4x4 walnut. Yes, run off again. And the 4mm oak. Remembering we did this one with the little black one with 1 finger. And there's no way in the world I can do it with 1 finger with this. Okay. Again, bit of a ragged edge, and like all the sections we've tried, considerable deflection and runoff. At last, time to sum up. Very well. We've looked at the TC105 both as it comes out of the box, and then also after being modified and screwed down to a board. We've done a comparison with the little older cutter to give us a bit of a yardstick. So, what are the conclusions? Perhaps we should start with its good points. It's got a good ruler, very accurate. It's got a good stop with not a bad range from 0 to close to 110. This piece that acts as a rest for your material that's being cut is very good and slides up and down to suit the width of the material. And the The angle guide is also excellent, adjustable from 0 to 90 degrees. It's got a nice fixed handle that doesn't wander, but unfortunately that's about where the good points end. Okay, well, as a cutter, which as I said earlier is its sole purpose in life, I think it leaves a bit to be desired, to be quite honest. And the reasons are twofold. One initially is this heavier utility knife blade, which I must admit I thought would be its plus factor, because being thicker would allow less runoff, but in actual fact it doesn't. And the problem with it is, because it is thicker, it therefore takes more pressure to get it through the piece you're cutting, and with the result that it can have a deforming effect on the material. If you push it through hard through something a bit thicker, it comes down with a crunch and flattens the end of it. It leaves a ragged edge on the underside of all the things you cut. And I think that's the second failing in it, is this slot, which again I thought was a plus. But I think maybe that's why the others don't do it. I think it's just wide enough to allow the blade forcing its way through to create that ragged edge. You might think I've been a bit unfair because I was cutting fairly heavy sections, but I wanted to try it out properly, and it is advertised to cut wider and heavier sections than most of the cutters available. And in all fairness, we also cut all the same sections with the little black one, put a new blade in it, and it is sharp, I know, because I've cut myself on it already. It'll cut the lighter material without the same sort of deforming, but it still leaves that bead on the bottom, that ragged bit of edge on the bottom. Perhaps I'm being a little bit hard on it. It's manufactured by people who manufacture equipment for the railway modelling hobbyists. Perhaps in that hobby there is a use for it, but I think in my hobby it leaves a lot to be desired. As for the 4 screws and the need to fasten it down, there's no mention of these screws or the requirement for this to be attached to something. I'm sure you'll agree that straight out of the box it didn't work well. The fact that they keep this a bit of a secret, I think at the very kindest, is misleading. Now, I just don't think it's good enough. When you're paying 100 Australian dollars, you don't expect to get a flimsy, warped piece of plastic out of the box that won't work. This is the bit of kit I bought, advertised as a cutter, to cut all the things they advertised it to cut. No mention of the screws. This is the bit of kit that should work, and it doesn't. I guess at the end of the day, I will put it down to as an expensive mistake. We all have those from time to time, but you know, I guess I'll use it. I'll use it for wider material, and until such time as I have a better alternative, I'll use it to cut angles. Don't think I can recommend it to people. If they wish to try it, it's up to them. I hope this has been of use to someone. There was nothing at all available when I bought it, so now there's at least one to go by. All right, I neglected to say before, this is an AL one, but Amati also put out exactly the same cutter. It's had a bit of work done to it too. I've glued the suction cap feet in because they did have a tendency, being suction caps, you lift them up off the bench, you leave the feet behind. I've also put a new cutting pad here in. Didn't really need it, but I thought, oh, what the heck. And I've pulled out the entire assembly here, cleaned it all up, lined it up perfectly with the 0 line and glued it firmly in place. So that's a fixture now and it won't move. So every time I want a 90-degree cut, I can do it here. But this is a good little cutter. It's quite small, very light. You can just leave it, it's not too big. You can leave it around your workbench without it getting too much in the way. You want to do a couple of quick cuts, boom, there it is. Yeah, I'm very happy with it. If the people who made these put a couple of features on it, like the angle guide and the stop that's on the TC105, you wouldn't want for more. Less than half the price of the TC105, and I think we showed that it does a better job at cutting. Okay, some of the biggest stuff was getting to its limit, but only its limit because of the depth of the blade, really. It was cutting through them all right, it just can't go all the way. And to be quite honest, once you get up to that 5x5 walnut, the 10x2 walnut, the 6mm oak or the 6mm dowel, you should be cutting them with your hobby saw. I mean, these things aren't made to cut those big sections, really. And your hobby saw will give you a more precise, cleaner, even neater cut. All right, well, as I say, I'm quite happy with this little one now, albeit I have modified it. While I complained about modifying the TC105, at least this one costs less than half, as I say. Thanks for bearing with me through 2 videos. I hope it's been of some use to you, and please come back. There'll be some more tool reviews on my site, but not for a little bit, because having got this one out of the way, I'm now got to get back on to building the Coker and posting some new build videos of that. So I look forward to seeing you when you join me for the next video. Thanks for watching.